So one of the ways that abusers will get their victim into the relationship, into the web, is they will future fake the victim. And so they're essentially giving them a false vision of the future that the victim can invest in emotionally that will get them to be in the relationship dynamic and to have hope about the future in a specific way that allows them to overlook like the nonsense that the abuser starts to engage in. And so you'll often see this, in a romantic relationship, honestly, even scammers, right? They're promising you a thing that you can believe in, even though it's not present or in the present, and then that hope, that toxic, unfortunately, hope gets you to invest more and more. And the more you invest, the more you believe it has to be true because you've invested so much and you've got like the sunken cost fallacy dynamic happening. Companies will do this too. For hiring, they promise a version of the work culture or the company or the work you'll be doing that then doesn't materialize. And then also they're garbage and they treat everyone abusively. Or you could be already in the dynamic and, like let's say it's your parents, and your parents may make promises or allusions to a promise of something that they'll do to get you to stay around and to still enact family with them so they can feel like a, family, regardless of how they treat you. And so they may promise you something like paying for college, or they may promise you something like putting you in the will. And you think, well, I've already put up with so much. I may as well get something out of this, right? So you might stay around longer than is healthy for you. So I feel like a lot of resources have talked about that, and yes, all of that is very true. But there's two things that I think are interesting. One is one that Libby Pomelo said. She said it in a live, and I was like, "This is the best thing I've heard. So good." She was like, "Yeah," and the victim ends up future faking themselves, and it's like, because at some point in the relationship dynamic, this person is being toxic and abusive, and the victim is having that toxic hope that the abuser will be different than they are, and that things will change, and that the relationship will be how you want it to be. Victims often exist in that tension between wanting the abuser to stop abusing, but also wanting to keep the relationship dynamic, and it's not just in romantic relationships, children, even adult children, they want their parents to stop abusing them, but they want they want to keep the relationship or things the way that they are. And often those things do not go together. So that was the second thing, Libby's amazing comment. And then that was Libby, right? Yeah, I should double check that. Pretty sure it was Libby. But the third thing is abusers are often Delulu future faking themselves. And I realize this because when I think back, one of the things that I think back to, like the beginning of the relationship process with my abusive ex, is he would tell me things that he doesn't do and never will do, but I didn't recognize it. So he would say, "Oh yes, I want to spend my life planting trees. I want to help fix the environment. So I want to plant trees. I want to go across the land and plant trees." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds really cool. Yeah, what kind of trees? Where do you want to plant the trees? What can you contact a state agency? Maybe they would be happy to support this on state owned lands." When I tell you that he had no plan, no answers, this was a fantasy he had about the person he wanted to be, and he wanted other people to believe it too. And so I wasn't supposed to sit there and come in with actionable action items, which okay. So another one that he did was he talked about like he wanted to go do this program. "Oh, but I can't do this program anymore because like now we're in love and we're together." I was like, "No, you can go do the program. You're You're only like 2 hours away. I'll see you every weekend. That's not a problem. And he was like, no, but if I can't see you every day, we can't be in a relationship. And I was like, well, why? What? Just you do the grind and you didn't come back together. And it was like, no, but I need to lay next to you every night. I'm like, but we don't even do that now. I'm very confused. Also, you have a night job. So even if we're living together, which we weren't, I think at that point, we still wouldn't be laying next to each other. Like, none of this makes sense to me. And it was because he didn't want to be responsible for not doing this program, but he liked having the identity that doing the program would give him. What was another one? There were like a couple. And I just remember like, I don't understand. Like, you could be doing these things. So whenever you come across a person and they have like a grandiose identity thing that they are giving you, often to make them feel significant or maybe seem more important than they are, they may, depending on their level of self-awareness, they may genuinely believe it. Even though it's not real, they're not going to do it. It's never going to happen. Some people may be self-aware and know that saying this stuff doesn't actually, mean anything. And that they want you to invest in that version of their identity with them so that they can feel like a person they actually aren't. And here's the thing, right? People think, oh, if I get XYZ thing, then I will feel special and validated and important and whatever. I will tell you, as somebody who has built things over time, by the time you get around to it being like a big deal, it's not a big deal to you because you've been doing it. There is no, I'm a very important person now. You showed up every day, you put in the grind, and you see the little gains, and you're like, okay, great. But the thing is, you don't need that validation because you love the process. You've been doing the process. Maybe those little small gains are ones that you're like, oh, that's cool, But you haven't been transformed into a totally different person. You are invested in the process regardless of the outcome. So anybody who thinks this way and then is telling you these things in order to get you to emotionally invest or to think, oh, well, one day they're going to be a very big deal and I should stick around, right? Then they're telling you what their values are. They're telling you how they think. They're telling you something about what they want you to believe in terms of their identity, or what you could possibly have in the future. And there's like a generational, I don't know, history in my family with this. My grandmother would future fake my mom about being in the will. And then my mom tried to future fake me about being in the will. And you can see so many people think, oh, well, okay, in the future, this will be, if I just hang in there, if I just, put up with this just a little bit longer, I can get this outcome. I'll tell you, those are the people who are going to live the longest. And part of that is that then you invest in the version of reality of their identity that they want to be real, and they haven't built it. So my mom wanted me to treat her in a specific way that she hadn't like legitimately earned. Same thing with my grandma. My grandma wanted to have this, how do I put it? Like this largesse of being, I don't know, like a community VIP. My mom, the same thing too. They were very invested in our genealogical history. I find like people who don't have a lot of accomplishments often get very invested in their genealogy because then they can feel tied to something important that they didn't necessarily have anything to do with other than it happened in the past in terms of one of their ancestors. So I would someone who thinks in a way where they feel like they have to be important is someone who is going to spend the relationship dynamic putting themselves in a position above you because that makes them feel important, significant, VIP, so special. And we all need that in life. So anyway, run screaming to the hills from those people because they are not only future faking you, they're often future faking themselves. And so we want to live in reality, basically. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. And I'll talk to you next time.